that, as usual, you're always having a good time with whatever you are doing. Now, what do I have in Africa today? In Africa Speaks of today, a very, very interesting gentleman who will tell us about himself and has a very high post as far as Africa is concerned. Now, this is what we have. The set of Africans in the diaspora is a government of Africa in the diaspora. How does this work, and how does this help Africa when it's a government based abroad? We've discussed this before. Now, the African Union endorsed the idea in 2003 at the end of its annual summit, declaring it's an effective entity contributing to the economy and social development of the continent. In other words, it's got the African Union blessing. Now, with over $80 billion, it should be more than that actually, remitted to Africa each year by the Africans in the diaspora, they can influence the policies on the continent. Mark that, because the money is going. Therefore, you have chances of influencing the policies. The question is it working? This is what we are asking ourselves. Is it working? This is the question we'll try and answer in today's program. And we tried in the previous program with Remy. Now, with me in the studio is Mr. Nandi Chukwuka. I hope I pronounced that right. Chukwuka, a Minister of Culture in the State of Africa in the diaspora. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, you've had this. You're Minister of Culture and Tourism, by the way. The State of Africa in the diaspora. First of all, tell us about the inner workings, because somebody listening, somebody viewing us would think, okay, what does the government do? How does this, what kind of government is it? And is a minister in the government, what does he do? And so on and so forth, the kind of questions that will come up.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's understandable. The concept is difficult to grasp because the state of the African diaspora is a virtual state.
It's a virtual state.
It's a virtual state. It exists virtually. It exists in the ether. It is a borderless state.
Okay.
So in effect, like Bitcoin, you know, when Bitcoin first came, people were, you know, how can this thing be a currency? How can this be a valuable coin? You know, we don't have it in our hand. It's a virtual thing. So the State of African Diaspora is there to represent the diasporans.
Okay.
The definition of that is everybody of African origin outside of Africa.
Yeah.
So that's its constituency. The way in which it is structured is global. So we have representation throughout the world. We have members in every continent and in literally every country.
Yeah.
These are the parliamentarians. And the parliamentarians, then out of those parliamentarians, we have got the ministers who become the cabinet under the current Prime Minister, Dr. Louis Tin, based in Paris. So, you know, I have counterparts in New York, in Brazil, in Panama, in Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, all over, you know, who are members of parliament, of the parliamentary system of SOAT.
How do we influence what goes on in the African continent? We're talking about money now. We are talking about policies. We are talking about issues that...
well, I don't know that that is the objective of SOAT, to influence policy in Africa, because our constituency is the diaspora who exist outside of Africa.
All right, all right.
So we're not really there to influence policy. But what we are there to do is represent the diaspora more cohesively within Africa. You know, up to very recently, the diaspora wasn't taken seriously by Africa, wasn't taken seriously by individual countries or collectively. Now it is being taken seriously. Most countries have a diaspora division within their country. They understand the importance of the diaspora in terms of a source of hard currency. Some countries across Africa are almost entirely dependent on remittance. That's hard currency sent by their diaspora into the country to stay afloat. There was one year, I think it's 2019, that the Nigerian diaspora remitted more into the country than the federal budget of the government.
Of Nigeria, yeah.
And if you consider that Nigeria is an oil country, generating billions of dollars in terms of oil, the diaspora, the Nigerian diaspora, had remitted more into the country than the country's budget for that year. So that tells you how important remittance is in terms of Africa for individual countries and collectively.
Yeah. Now, someone, again, viewing us could think, okay, how are we going to, we are looking at the continent now.
Yes.
Because if you can't influence, policies, because the key problem that in Africa has always been the policies that go in, either they are good or they are bad. Then the remittance, as you are dealing with the Africans in the diaspora, you have a voice to tell the Africans, this is the policies that could work. This is what could work in terms of agriculture. This is what could work in that. So that the human resource in Africa, in the diaspora, can benefit from or can give back to Africa, not just by giving remittance, but in terms of also maybe finding employment.
Well, there's a number of
things.
There's a number of issues, and I think what you are pointing at is what is the leverage of the diaspora in Africa? How can it impact and influence issues, events in Africa? The one area in which the diaspora has a significant impact is intellectual capital.
All right.
Many diasporans are now engaging with Africa, with their respective home countries, in terms of coming back, engaging, and being part of the process of that country's development. You see, the diaspora exists outside of Africa.
Of course.
So when a diasporan comes back, I mean, he then becomes a local. So you're only a diasporan while you're outside of Africa, while you're outside of your country. Once you're in, you now become a legitimate member of that country's constituency. But there are a number of ways in which the diaspora is impacting African development. One is the fact that we now are very aware, everyone is very aware of the economic potential and leverage of the diaspora. And many organizations are looking for ways in which they can actually be way more, let me say, targeted with that money. Most of the money remitted isn't remitted for capital projects. It's remitted for school fees, for medical bill, for shopping, so your mother can buy a new outfit for a wedding. So that's the kind of remittance that is being sent. But organizations are now saying, how can we help development, at the same time provide that income, provide that resource that people need for day-to-day basis. So there are now things like diaspora bonds.
All right.
Countries are now creating bonds where people can buy a bond. That bond generates income. That income is what you give to your people. But the principal sum remains there. The principal sum remains invested. So rather than just sending money back that's just spent anyhow, you're buying bonds. Now, the countries who issue those bonds now have a huge amount of currency that they can use to, again, secondary investment in the international money markets, in commodities, whatever. So that's one way in which countries are now trying to leverage the diaspora dividend of remittance. That's just one example. The other example is the ins and out of flow of people in relation to startup, intellectual exchange, intellectual capital, organizations who are targeting diasporans primarily, rather than expats. They're saying, if we need an engineer, let's go and find a diasporan. If we need a doctor, let's go and find a diasporan. If we need a lawyer, let's go and find a diasporan. So there's much more awareness that everything you need, the knowledge you need, the expertise you need, exists outside in your own people. So that's part of this evolution of approach that is happening across Africa.
Now, financially, how is the organization? You're a minister.
Yes.
How do you, in terms of funding the African diaspora government, how is it funded?
Well, a lot of what is being done at the moment, a lot of the work of ministers and many other aspects of the organization is done voluntarily.
Yeah.
It is done at this moment voluntarily. There is a long-term plan for the liquidity and the revenue of the organization. We are soon to be issuing cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency?
Correct.
Wow, wow.
We are working with a very credible technology company in America called LuxCore, which is a second generation blockchain company, and we are soon to be issuing digital currency, let's call it digital currency, which is which we call Solux.
Okay.
And that will be an opportunity for the organization to generate its own revenue. In addition to that, we're launching our own app very soon.
All right.
In fact, it's due to launch possibly end of this month.
Okay.
Within the app, people can sign up for citizenship.
Ah, yeah.
That citizenship.
I was going to find out how that was going to work. Yeah.
Well, very simply through the app. You know, previously we did it in a much more protracted way. You went online, you went through the website, you downloaded it, you uploaded your photos. But in future, everything will be done in the app. You become a citizen. You'll be issued with an ID card.
Okay.
And that ID card gives you certain benefits within the state of African diaspora. We're looking for things like travel, education. We launched our university, the University of SOAD, end of last year.
Okay.
I think it was October, November. So there are many benefits, and we hope that diasporans who hold a citizen card from SOAD will be allowed travel to many African countries without visa.
All right.
That's one of the potential benefits of
Okay.
having a diasporan citizen card. Liberia, that's a country that's been very, very supportive of SOAD from day one.
Okay.
Is already saying
anybody it wants to jump on board.
Well, it's not jumping; it's already on board.
It's already on board.
Yeah, anybody with a citizen card with SOAD can travel to Liberia without any additional visa requirements. So we look to the future, and potentially that will be a way for diasporans to travel more readily and freely. Africa is doing its own thing for Africans online. You know, single passport. They're talking about the East
ECOWAS and the East African one. It's already existing in East Africa.
Exactly. So that there are moves to make it easier for those who are African citizens. But we're talking diasporans. People born in North America, South America, in the Caribbean, who want to travel to Africa, but find it difficult at this moment in time because of the requirements of visas, etc. So this is an opportunity. This is the potential way in which we can address the needs of the diasporans. And the diasporans are our primary constituency.
Now, any problems into this? Because one of the things that I discovered when I was doing my reading and about the African diaspora was that there's a lot of energy, negative energy, coming in maybe from the Western powers, the Western countries, in a sense like here in the UK and other Americans, so on, in a sense that this kind of unity might sort of destabilize their income over a period of time. So already there's talk that no, the whole structure can't work because of course disagreements here and there. Even within the OAU, the Ethiopians had a different opinion on this issue, which I didn't hear of, but they were talking about it, and so on. How is this negative energy going to be fought within the organization?
Negative attitudes exist with
everywhere.
Any new enterprise, with any, again, I refer to the early days of Bitcoin. Was there not a lot of negative talk? What is this thing? It's nonsense. It won't work. Now one coin is worth 40, 50,000, and we're all wishing we had listened back then the time, when it was $9 each. And I'm saying to people the same thing about SOAD. People are saying this can't work. It's too abstract. It's too this. And I'm saying, listen. Invest now. This thing will work. This thing has potential. This thing is addressing a need. It will work. Of course there's always resistance. Of course there's always detractors. Of course there's always people who tell you it will not work until it does. Then they tell you, I always knew it would work. But we're doing something here not born not because we are looking at a pot of gold at the end of the process. We're doing it because we believe in the value it will bring to the people.
Yeah.
So those who are, let me say, motivated by principle and not outcome will stay on board.
Now, you described yourself a state of Diaspora website, on the state of the website. Then you said you are FBI, full-blooded Igbo man who came from Anambra State in Nigeria, who has passion for African culture. How can African culture develop institutions when you look at yourself in a ministerial capacity in terms of developing other institutions and maintaining the culture and tourism? Because once we get too much tourists going, the influence that will come with the changes that could happen. I always
wonder why people cross bridges they haven't got to. You're worrying about too much tourism. The reality today is not enough tourism. Why are we worrying about a problem that may never exist?
No, you see, the cultural issue is being watered in a sense that when Western influences come in, unless we fight so much. If you read the book of Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, one of the main reasons he was giving said, look, if we don't fight something on the ground, things will definitely fall apart. The center will fall apart, and it will affect all of us. Now, the idea is we want tourism, obviously, to come in and bring us the money, and bring in the money. But then at the same time, we want to maintain what has been on the ground, because the institutions that hold us together as Africans, of our cultures, our music, our dancing, our everything that holds that together. Now the idea is, how do you maintain that when could there be a fight between the two, the modernity, the 21st century kind of lifestyle that our people in Africa may prefer to the kind of lifestyle that they are leading? Could that affect the culture?
Culture is not static. When we talk about culture,
it changes.
Well, let's understand that culture is not fixed in time. It's not static. It's evolving. If we look at the country we're both in, UK, how it operates today is not how it operated 1,000 years ago.
Of course not.
The England of Chaucer is not the England of Shakespeare. It won't be the England of Bennett. It won't be the England of George Orwell. It's not the England of today. It evolves. It changes over time. And that is true of every culture in any country, in any continent. So culture is fluid. It's evolving. The only question we need to ask each other and ourselves is, in which direction do we want that change to go?
Okay.
And there's always residual elements of culture that remain behind. Even as culture moves forward, there are things that stay the same, things that stay static. And of course, within that process of evolving, you always want to take forward the best of what you believe your culture represents. The best of it, its morality, its values, its essence. So the best of it you hope will go forward with you as that culture evolves. So culture is not static, it evolves, it's moving, it's fluid.
Wouldn't it involve, say for example, like Kenya is trying to do, continuous teaching of the previous character, of the previous, just like the way maybe the Quran is taught to maintain religion in the Middle East.
That's not culture.
No. I'm only giving an example. The maintenance of our culture is such that if it's not really taught in schools, for example, Kenya has started that. It's teaching they teach students in schools nowadays, not just the language of Swahili, but also the various things, the dancings and things like that used to holds the people together in their own languages.
I think
that area hasn't been exploited a lot.
Of the problems of this kind of conversation is that we can be talking assuming we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But how you define culture is different from how I define it.
Okay.
So we're
okay.
having a conversation,
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Assuming that we mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, culture is made up of tradition. So it's a, if you understand the definition of the term culture, it is a generic term. It is not a single thing. Culture is a generic term, which underneath it made up of lots of different things.
Okay.
There is culture around food. There's culture around music. There's culture around many things, marriage. These are cultural. And those cultural things in those different departments are made up of traditions.
Of course.
So
of course.
the pillars that get you to that point, which is called culture, one of the pillars of that is traditions. So you can talk about, we want to maintain this particular tradition.
The reason why I was saying, I was looking at that, is that if one of them gets broken, now that you've mentioned the pillars, if one of the pillars go, say for example, the language pillar.
Absolutely.
Or if one of the pillars go, say the music, and it's so westernized music or something, one of the pillars go, the other pillars will start falling apart. That is the issue I'm trying to say.
Well, potentially, but again, you're right. I think one of the most important elements of any society's culture is its language. Language is the repository of culture.
Yeah.
In fact, to understand a society's culture, it is almost impossible without having a good grasp of the language.
Yeah.
The language is the key to really unlocking the richness of any society's culture. So yes, language is a really important element of that. We need to maintain language, and in countries where they understand the importance of their language, they will teach it, they reinforce it. Here in the UK, in Wales, where for many years it wasn't spoken, it was denied them. You now see a resurgence of people learning Welsh. People are learning Welsh.
It's a very good example, because they've put money into it. They put a lot of money into it. The National Lottery recently gave them quite a lot of money. So the language is coming back.
They understand the value of it.
Exactly. Now, are we putting money in Africa to
preserve we are doing many things. We are recognizing the importance of these things. In areas where some languages are at risk of becoming dead languages, because they will get to a point where there's not enough people speaking it for it to be viable. Even in Europe, one of the most powerful empires ever to exist on this planet, the Roman Empire, its language is now a dead language.
It is.
Latin.
It is.
So the risk is always there. The risk is always there for any country, any nation. Doesn't matter how big you think you are today, potentially your language, which is the key to your culture, is at risk of dying. There are many dead languages. The good news is, in my view, that Africa, as Africans, have recognized that we need to perpetuate our own indigenous languages. Very recently, the African Union adopted Swahili as a language of the state. Up to that point, I don't think we had a African language as one of the official languages of the African Union, which sounds strange. But those are the types of change of attitude, mindset, that makes you understand that your culture matters, your values matter. When we value our own, we don't need anybody else to protect it. It begins with valuing your own. When you value your own, your food, your music, your culture, then you preserve. You don't waiting for the other man to preserve it on your behalf.
Of course not.
You preserve it yourself. So it begins with each and every one of us valuing who we are, what we are, and how we do things.
The approach of it, of course, that's the most important thing, is that the approach, the approach towards the valuing of that. Because when you have other cultures, things like a language, the English language, for example, it kills off other languages.
It can do. It can do.
If you have that. Now, the fight back is the issue that I was more or less looking at. Do we need to put more money into it so that we educate our people as far as it's concerned? Do we need, what do we need to do to make sure that...
I think money is always an aspect of anything we do in education. But prioritizing it is more important. It wasn't until recently that actually throughout Africa we had African literature rather than learning Shakespeare
Of course, yeah.
George Orwell. We now have Chinua Achebe as one of the
Yeah.
standard books across Africa.
I know,
We now
yeah.
are saying in many places you don't need to have English as your first language. Learn your first language.
Yeah, exactly,
Have
exactly,
English
yeah.
if you need as a second language. But as one risk disappears, another appears.
Another zone, yeah.
And the other one now is that in many parts of East Africa,
Yeah, yeah.
Mandarin is now compulsory.
Yeah.
As we get away from one risk, another takes its place.
Listen, it brings me. It's bringing me to that question of the Chinese, because
Right.
I've been asking that question to almost every African who has come on my show.
Yes.
And we've discussed it so much, and the idea. I even had a couple of Nigerians who have been trying to, who are 2 or 3 who are trying to become president of Nigeria, and it's coming here, and I've interviewed them, and they said, look, I think we're going to counter the Chinese in this way. And last year I almost had an idea. I met a Chinese who went to not Anambra, River State in Nigeria, and he had bought land there, and he had started a rice farm there, and he was
wonderful.
He was really doing very well.
Excellent.
But I think the new governor came in, and a lot of things started coming in, and I think something happened out of the blue, and I think the contract he had and the lengthy lease he had and all that, he started having his things stolen and all that. In the end, he had lost nearly half of the money he had invested in the River State. Now, but he wasn't alone. There are other business Chinese who are coming in, and Malawi now, and I think in Malawi, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, even South Africa. Chinese are flooding there with cheap goods and trying to, in Malawi, they even involved in the police force. Actually, they have somebody who's an inspector from China who looks after there. So that how is the diaspora government going to have a look at that and maybe try to advise other African countries and say, look, we need them, but we don't need them that much to overrun most of our economies.
Well, the first thing I should point out is that the diaspora, State of African diaspora, does not get involved in the politics of individual countries.
Okay.
We have no say in the politics of individual countries, nor do we attempt to interfere in the way in which they conduct themselves. What we will do is promote positively the contribution that diasporas can make, and hope that that becomes a choice for diaspora. Up to very recently, I was always aware of FDI, foreign direct investment. Now people talk about DDI, diaspora and direct investment. So the contribution of the diaspora, and the fact that if you need money for investment in projects, capital projects, businesses, you can go to institutions that are targeting diasporan investment, because foreign direct investment comes at a price. China investing in Africa comes at a price.
Of course.
The price is they now own you. The price is you're in
you
debt to them.
You fail to pay.
You fail to pay. They take your resources. They take those very valuable resources. And China, over 20 years ago, had a strategy which became public, that they would be colonial powers, not through force, not through military rule, but through debt.
And
through debt.
Economic,
through debt. So they have very deliberately gone after Africa with very tempting, levels of borrowing and levels of lending, which many parts of Africa really didn't see the downside. All they saw was the dollar signs. They didn't understand that actually for every billion you borrow, repayment is 100 million.
Well, the East African side, the East African community, which is obviously taking hold within the East African region.
Yes, it is. Tanzania is literally bought up by China.
Yeah, no, they've discussed this, and I was listening to the news in Kenya and part of it in Uganda.
Okay.
And they were saying, look, if we stand together as a team, and say, listen, we owe you $10 billion.
Yes.
But we're not going to pay you because of ABCD as a team. The man who has borrowed money from you will listen.
Yes.
But if
you go individually,
they'll
pick you up.
They'll pick you up.
For sure.
But now they're saying, oh, if we go as a team. Now, this was recently addressed by, I think, a Tanzanian minister.
Okay.
All the others are embracing it.
Fantastic.
Now, China has started listening.
Fantastic.
Because at the end of the day, a similar thing happened when the World Bank,
the global debt restructuring, yes,
they had
the
to
Western
restructure
powers
everything.
had to restructure the debt.
They had to restructure
and
the debt.
In some instances, write off the debt.
Write off most of them.
It happens.
Yeah,
it happens.
So this might be a saver.
Well, it will definitely be an option. It is a strategy that has previously been used by the West themselves. They've done it to each other.
Yeah.
They've done it to each other. The Marshall Plan after the Second
Oh
World
yeah,
War
the Marshall Plan.
to
The Marshall
rescue
Plan.
Germany was about debt. What is about borrowing? The West are very good and very capable. They understand how finance works, global finance.
Yeah.
They will create.
No, we're learning the trick. We're learning
very fast.
Yeah.
We're understanding that, you know, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Oh, of course, you're on the menu. Yeah.
Listen to me. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So we've decided we no longer want to be on the menu.
Right. Africa in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Women are part of and parcel of almost, we are trying our level best in terms of making sure the education level and so on. Now, what kind of plans are existing? Is there Minister for Women in the diaspora?
Yes, there is. And let me say before I answer that question in detail, my view is we cannot succeed unless our women succeed. That's my view.
Yeah.
Africa does not succeed unless its women succeed.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we talk about mother tongue, we talk about many things. There's another saying is, if you lend a woman $100, you save a family. You lend a man $100, you save the man.
You save the man.
Or you buy a suit. You know, the difference is women have a different approach to family economics.
I think you got to
rescuing families.
Everybody's got to learn that. It's a very good thing. I'm hearing it for the first time, but I'm gonna have it.
Yeah.
You lend a man $100. He buys a suit.
You lend a woman $100.
You lend a woman
$100.
Yeah, you save the family.
You save the family.
It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. So the structure is there. The education is there. Everything is there. Well, more encouragement.
The awareness of the value of women is there.
Yeah.
Structures are not entirely there.
Okay.
You know, let's understand where we are.
Yeah.
First, you have to acknowledge the problem. Acknowledge the task.
Yeah.
The task is that for too long, we haven't understood the value of our women's capacity. Yeah. There are now more women in business across East Africa, across the whole of Africa.
Yeah.
There are now more microfinancing of women's businesses because they are naturally the ones who will trade, who stay at home. They're the ones who look after the children. So, you know, financing women and making them financially viable is actually a guarantee that you make a family financially stable and viable. Financing a man is hit and miss. It's hit and miss whether or not he will finance his family or finance his shawu.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem.
Or even marry more women.
Or marry, whatever. So there is that risk.
But
the understanding of the value of women is absolutely central to what SOAD is doing. You know, total equality, we have various ministers. In fact, a minister of education is a woman, and she's Zimbabwean.
All right.
So, you know, we have many ministers. But, you know, we obviously, any organization is a reflection of its society. Any organization is a reflection of its society. We are trying to reflect an organization that values women. That's where we're starting from. That's our mindset. That's our starting point.
And in numbers as well, as far as human resources are concerned, I think there are more women than men.
Well, you know, demographically, globally, I think in terms of world percentages, women are about 54, 56%, and men are the balance.
Yeah, yeah.
There's only two sexes in the world, male or
Of
female.
course, of course.
You can only have the one or the other. So
course.
in terms of global demographics, I think women are outnumber men, and of course we know that traditionally they're supposed to live longer than men. So in many ways, the importance of women in the recovery of Africa, in the re-emergence of Africa, in my view, is central. It should be central to any
the development
policy.
to any policies that come in
Absolutely.
and the development of Africa. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My favorite question comes in connected with Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
Now, Pan-Africanism have evolved, as you said, with the cultures and all that. And what Nkrumah had in mind, what Nyerere had in mind, what Mandela had in mind, are all now being brushed aside. And the modern 21st century Africans have a different way of addressing the issue of Pan-Africanism. Gaddafi tried it, Lawrence tried it in Ghana a little bit. They come in, they all agree with it, but they don't have a policy that brings it forward. Now, we have the government of Africans in the diaspora. And the issue is very important. It's very sensitive. You even mentioned it on the website.
Okay.
By SOA's website. When you talked about briefly, I said, look, we need to do that. But it's simply in words. It's not in practice. It's not working. Why? Why do African leaders at the moment don't embrace it the way Nkrumah and Nyerere and the others addressed it?
What is it they should be embracing? In your view?
The togetherness. That's part of it.
Well, you know,
the togetherness
I think the togetherness of Africa begins at a domestic level. I don't know how we can require governments to show togetherness when South Africans are burning Zimbabweans in the street. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure how you could expect a government to embrace togetherness when individually in Nigeria, Hausa are killing
Igbos,
Yoruba, are going into churches. Well, you know, Igbos is part of the situation. But very recently, Fulani gunmen went into a church in Yoruba land and killed everybody. You know, the ethnic divisions, the attitudes of other Africans to others who migrate to their countries, most notably in South Africa, a country we all fought for and supported. Now they are killing and burning people of different ethnicities in the streets of South Africa. And yet you are asking me why governments are not working together. Surely it begins at street level.
Yeah, but for it to go at street level, the person in charge of a government has to have had that belief of Pan-Africanism. Because they talk about it, they go to the African Union and they discuss it. They talk about it. My own president of Uganda has discussed it. We even have an office, a Pan-African office in Uganda. Kenya, Tanzania, the entire East African region, Pan-Africanism is a subject which is on everybody's mind.
Absolutely.
You know, but the practical side of it, as you are saying, people burning here, others are fighting. How it has to start from home, but how do they put it in? Is it education? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Education is always,
people are not always told.
No, education is always part of the equation. In whatever you're doing, education is always part of the equation. When governments speak out in support of diversity, then governments speak out, because when at a local level people are blaming another ethnic group for the problems they're facing because of unemployment, they see you as the threat. It happens in the UK. UK was saying, you know, we want our jobs, we want our borders. The first thing, the first casualty of any war conflict is truth, but also is logic, is sense. You know, they say the first casualty of war is truth. I would say the second casualty is common sense. Truth dies in common sense. The common sense to know that actually the problem isn't with this other human being who's just trying to survive himself. The problem is the misuse of funds at a higher level, the misappropriation of billions at a higher level. You know, why are you willing to destroy, kill your fellow man but you're not willing to lift a finger to stop that corrupt politician taking X billion out of the country,
Yeah.
to buy his house in Dubai, to take his medical treatment in New York.
Yeah.
You do nothing about that,
Yeah.
but you're happy and willing to burn your fellow human being in the street. So it's about priorities. It's about understanding where the real problem lies.
Yeah, but then the question has always been, these things would easily be sorted out when people are educated about the solutions. Because what we're so good at in Africa
Yeah.
is to discuss the problem.
For sure.
We know the problem. We discuss it.
Sure.
I've discussed Nigerians' problems here. We know the problem. Now, when it comes to the solutions, we said, okay, yeah, the solution will do A, B, C, D. But the practical side of it is not something that even the common man or a leader somewhere is trying to do. He
Sure.
would rather invest, or he rather make sure he confuses others, he stays in power. So the structure, as you are saying, people are fighting each other. Education is the key thing. What can we teach them?
I tell
that
you,
we are actually
yeah.
brothers and sisters.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And I think one of my approaches to this is that I say being pro Zulu or Shona or Hausa or Yoruba
Yeah.
or Ashanti
Yeah.
doesn't require you to be anti anybody. I am pro my culture, my cultural heritage, Igbo, but I
Yeah.
am absolutely not anti anybody else.
Yeah.
That's first the message you send out.
Okay.
Because up to this point, being pro XYZ
Yeah.
has an implication that it is at the disadvantage of everybody else. So the Welsh are proud to be Welsh.
Yeah.
The Scottish are proud to be Scottish. But
yeah.
they still want to be part of the European Union, to work together.
Yeah.
So no one should fear any ethnicity wanting to hold on to their cultural ancestral, to their culture, because that is what gives them substance. As we say, you know, if you want a tree to be tall, you need the roots to be deep.
Yeah.
So the first thing is for us to reposition and understand the importance of embracing individual cultures and not to see that as being in conflict with the bigger vision
Yeah.
of African unity and collective work. It is counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive because most people think to be a proud Welsh means that you have to hate anybody else or at the exclusion of something. I can still value other cultures.
Yeah.
I can still value other people. But I bring to the table something of value when actually I embrace my own culture. When I can bring to the table something of value, then our coming together has value.
Yeah, what I'm saying, what you're talking about is very interesting and it's good, it's good, but it's not a solution. The solution, like I was trying to explain to you, is that if I'm misinformed about you, the South African issue, for example, most of the people, the fighting and the violence that happens, if the foreigners are taking our jobs, is misinformation. You know, the misinformation
what you've outlined is not the solution. You're still outlining the problem.
But the solution is education. If you educate the people that, listen, the money is not a problem, then that is the solution. That's what I'm saying. But that has to come from within either the top people at the top educating those ones at the bottom that, listen, this solution should be dealt with. This is how we can deal with that.
You've asked me a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Because you have the answer yourself.
But I was
education.
expecting...
You see, I answered you in the way that I understood the question, which is what I was outlining was education. Education in as much as not to fear the other. That's part of that problem. Not to fear the other, which is because I'm a proud Zulu doesn't mean I need to be anti anybody else. So teaching others that people who embrace their culture aren't a threat to you. You don't have to be afraid of them. It is not something that's anti the bigger collective let me say, ambition of a unified Africa.
Okay.
Most people think to be unified Africa, you have to divorce yourself of your own individual cultural
No,
context.
you don't have to do
and
that,
become this thing called a Pan-African. That means you are without any antecedents. Allow me just to finish a second. So I believe absolutely that at the heart of Africa's progress, of course, is education. Education is central to everything, whether it's finance, whether it's in work, in the way we interact with each other, whether it's hygiene. Education has to be front and center. The sadness actually across Africa is that our educational systems and structures have been so underinvested over the last 25, 30 years. They started off incredible. They started off as equal to the Western educational system. But over the years, because of corruption, because of lack of investment, now qualifications from Africa are barely looked on in the West. They're barely regarded. You come here with a degree, they tell you start again. Go back to zero. Go back to scratch. We don't. Did you buy it? Did you pay your lecturer? Did you sleep with your lecturer? So there is no value attached to coming over here with a degree from most of our institutions. But of course, to give you a specific answer to your question, education is key to any progress we make. Whether we're educating our women to be more resourceful, to be more entrepreneurial, whether we're educating our masses to have much more of a sense of political justice and understand political process. I mean, I've always said, for me, and this is another conversation, it will take us forever, that when we adopted the Western political system on independence, it was a mistake.
Ah, really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a one-party state person because in the evolution of countries, when you have an uneducated mass who you're asking to make political judgments about individual parties, the only reason they vote for you if you bring a bag of rice, that negates the political process. Then it's not about picking the best person. It's about who will give you the most resources. So that makes the whole political process null and void. I would have advocated a China model for the first 50, 60, 100 years of our evolutionary process. We were starting from scratch. We were people, let's be honest about ourselves. We adopted the Western political system when they took hundreds of years to get there.
To get there.
Hundreds of years. And we have 90% uneducated mass, and we're saying we have a multi-party system. Vote for this one or vote for this one. The only difference they know is which one is bringing the bigger bag of rice. That's the only thing they know. And you call that a political system. China, now one of the dominant economic forces on the world, has a single party system. Opposition from within, which is what Chinua Achebe advocated. He's Igbo and Igbo. We understand the village compound. Everyone has a voice, but there's one party that's there for the benefit of the village, the country, the nation. One party and opposition from within. That's what Things Fall Apart was talking about.
But the biggest problem then again with that is that it could keep you with the same kind of people in office.
How's that different from now?
How
is that different from now? We're talking about governments who have been in power for 30 years, and you're telling me there's a problem. There's more likelihood that will work than this will work. Of course, each one comes with risk. None of them are risk-free. None of them are risk-free. Are you trying to give? Are you thinking I'm going to give you a perfect system? As far as human beings are part of a process, it will never be perfect. As part of any equation, it includes humans. It will never be perfect. But this is more perfect than the other one. This is more usable, more tangible than the other one. A multi-party system is nonsense for a political population that's still illiterate.
I'll put a debate somewhere at some point because I think it will be a very nice. Now we're coming towards the end of the end of the program, and I'm trying to find out how do you see the future of the African government in the diaspora? How do you see the future of it? Do you see it evolving over a period of time where you're going to have like what Kenya is trying to do and Rwanda having a representative of the in parliament of someone in the diaspora. I think even Zimbabwe is
What?
doing that, where they have a representative who lives in the diaspora, but is representing the diaspora in the government.
Again, let me repeat my initial points to you, my observations. The state of the African diaspora, its primary focus, its constituency is outside of Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever else happens in Africa
Yeah.
becomes secondary, is a bonus. What we are trying to do is give greater representation to what we call the African diaspora, which currently is equivalent to potentially 350 million people.
Yeah.
In North, South America, the Caribbean, throughout Europe, is how can we create a structure where they can feel involved through citizenship. We do not by force represent the diaspora. The only people we represent legitimately are those who take out citizenship with us.
Okay, if citizenship is taken, I know time has run out. I'm looking at a structure of saying a representation somewhere in Africa.
Oh, of course.
Could
Well,
be
it's
of essential use, because that gives the voice to us in the diaspora.
Undoubtedly, because we are launching diplomatic missions in every country across Africa.
Okay.
We have diplomatic missions here, as you know.
Yeah.
We have one here in the UK.
Yeah.
We're looking to launch that here in Brixton International House.
Yeah.
We have diplomatic missions across Europe.
Yeah.
That is standard practice.
Okay.
A government will have representation, will have embassies. In those countries where SOAD is recognized, we have embassies.
Okay.
We have embassies.
Okay.
We have
so
representation.
That means you'll have representation within the government's there.
For sure.
Okay.
Within the country, not necessarily the government, but within that country.
Yeah.
Like any other foreign country has an embassy here and has a voice in that country based on its diplomatic embassy.
Yeah.
So we will have that, but we are mindful. We do not want to play a part in the politics of individual countries as an organization.
Okay.
Individual diasporans can go back to their homeland and play their part.
And play part in the politics over
but
there.
Not as SOAD, but as individual citizens.
I've understood the point. Yeah.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much for coming to the program and telling us all about the SOAS.
Yeah.
And I do hope and pray that the whole SOAS
Well, I
succeeds.
appreciate the time. Let me say just very quickly, I haven't told you very much about SOAD. SOAD is an incredible organization with a vision to do so much for the diaspora and as a consequence for Africa. I encourage everybody watching to get online, find out for themselves about SOAD, make contact with you, contact us. We are here, we are going to stay, and we're doing some amazing things. Okay. So please keep in touch, please stay tuned, and get involved.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming here and telling us all about it.
Okay.
I hope we'll be together again next week for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Hello, your royal majesties. Do you know that God created you as a ruler over the domain of earth? You are made to rule, but not to be ruled. According to the constitution of heaven, it reads, "They do not know, neither do they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundation of the earth are out of course." That is why the rulers are now servants. God is waiting that we take our dominion, our place of dominion, as Jesus Christ came and introduced the kingdom of God. And he says, "Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand." Come as we dive into this kingdom that Jesus Christ brought. You are meant to rule and not to be ruled. You are meant to have dominion and not to be dominated. Your destiny is kingdom dominion. God is waiting for you to take your place as a kingdom child that he has brought you on earth. Come as we dive into this kingdom concept every Sunday on Omega Live TV from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and your life will never be the same. See you every Sunday. God bless you.